This was yesterday, and I wasn't able to publish the video today because I had some things that I'm going to explain in the next video that I'm going to talk about. Anyways, for yesterday, I was able to wake up early for the fish and bird feed. I did the chores, and on that day, as I walked to school, I went to a restaurant and I saw a poor man give a poor woman money. She always comes there, but I barely came to school though, since I did end up waking up pretty late and going to that restaurant. But I was able to eat a quick breakfast before going. Now, for Spanish, our first period, I had a Spanish diary to do regarding the imperfect tense, and we also had a paper cutting activity for the imperfect tense. The instructions were, for the ones curious, is that fold the two opposing sides of a paper to the middle where they meet, landscape side, no overlaps, and then fold the bottom to the top, overlapping. Then again, cut the fold lines on the papers that are sticking out, and then you can fill out whatever information. For my teacher, he just filled out four different sections within that paper for irregular and most regular verbs. A funny thing that the teacher always does is that when it comes to the verb to go, which is ear, he always bangs his hand on the desk and on the board, saying that there is no root to ear, it's always irregular. But I did tap in the reaction when I said Iba and kind of spoiled it. But he made another dad joke saying that later on, a seagull is obviously a bird, but a seagull is a seagull because it flies over the ocean. But when it goes over the bay, it's called a bagel. Now, later on, I also got pictures for missing diaries since I did not appear Friday and Monday. And one of the girls involved in many of the dramas for my school also announced another drama called Midsummer Night's Dream, which is April 22 and 23 of 2026 at 6 to 7 p.m. in the afternoon. Just look at the posters around, guys. I'm not sure about the exact dates and, also the costs too. Or call the office, I guess. Now, for PE next, side notes are that roll call, obviously, and within those first 15 minutes, I was able to finish up about a few things, the first diaries that I was missing for the first 15 minutes, since this is free period before the period actually starts. Kalisa argued with the boys a little bit more about baseless drama, but it was mostly funny. Anyways, as for the thing that we did here, I played volleyball the rest of the time. It was fun. I realized that maybe I should have chosen a different type of sport because maybe I could have talked to more random people. I could have had that chance to talk to more people, but had I just stayed like outside and just chose the same thing that I chose, which was volleyball, I mean, I'd still get the same fun. I'd still be wearing sunscreen and have a reason to wear sunscreen, and you still have the same people. That's great, but it's kind of like two different things. If I switched out this week for a different sport, it might still be boring, but I wouldn't have the same people. Or if I chose not to switch out, which I did choose now, then I wouldn't meet new people, but the game would still be fun, as I'd say. So, not much to say here. I did play volleyball. It was fun. Credit to Marissa's group. As for science, I already did my notes and weather. I already did the notes worksheet that was also assigned 2 days ago. And for the main stuff, we had a Ventusky.com assignments and naming weather patterns. I completed our weather assignments quickly and put 627 MPH1 since it's light in the area, at least yesterday. And we had a climate assignment with a nugget-shaped continent for an example, and told us to write the compass because apparently the class is too dumb to be able to make conclusions and we don't know our directions properly. You see, we also need to make conclusions on the weather, so compared to city and patterns in real life, which also were asked in the questions too. Cool stuff here. Funny friend said one of the girls are from Mexico as a joke, but then the girl said that no, you don't know it. And funny enough, right at this moment, the kid's papers fell, and of course she capitalized on it, saying like karma, you never assume where someone comes from. And the kid's papers did fall like a humorous way, like right after she made that joke. It was really funny. He called her a saboteur, as in she sabotaged his papers somehow, but he also confused it with El Salvador at the same time due to accent, but eventually said no. And next thing got for period four is that we got more Cold War stuff. Side notes are that observation here. People are more likely to answer extra credit questions or random questions that the teacher has compared to students that are far from the teacher. So if you're close from the teacher, you'd feel like you'd want to answer it more easily, for example. But if you're further, you would feel less likely to answer because there's a class in front of you and people like there'd be this sort of invisible bias or judgment is what I'd say. Is that when you're far from the teacher and you have a question that you want to answer, but there's people there, you're not going to answer because there's people in front of you. It's an invisible bias. But if you're in front of the teacher, nothing happens because you're not in front of people. You'd feel less judgment. Cool thing that I observed. Anyways, as for the project though, I'm not sure about it since I was absent on Monday, but the teacher is currently grading it. When I was making the project, I wasn't really focusing too much. I was just focusing on the writing, on the logistical stuff, while my friend just printed it out from a Google Doc and actually pasted it onto the current project board that we got. For the main stuff, we learned about the invasion of South Korea and how it was a proxy war and why General MacArthur decided to actually go and invade the North. But he got fired after wanting to use nuclear bombs and getting close to the Chinese border. The teacher also said during the lesson is that if you ever go to a Jeopardy show or game, yes, the U.S. had a fight with China during this Korean War, technically speaking. And we also learned about the peace armistice of 1953 and other skirmishes where North Korea plays with, nukes over countries and South Korea sending like literary books and freedom. That one's today. That one's a fact that's regarding today. And he said that if the Korean War happens within the next future, we might be drafted. And even said Kim Jong Un, it's legendized that Kim Jong Un apparently goes to sports games secretly. So the next time that you're at a game, at a sport that Kim Jong Un might theoretically like, look around the audience. The person who's like in that world, is he might be there. I finished the quiz that I was absent for yesterday regarding the Cold War, and I did two other daily missing bowingers that I do every start of the notes, though I still need a J7, I believe. Anyways, for English, I did not bet any coins today. We're skipping over lunch period, guys, because nothing much happened here. But again, credits to my two friends in lunch period. For English, my teacher's mood was sad and mellow today. I tested out my Spanish with her. I said, no he estado aquí ayer. I know I'm not supposed to say the H in he. But anyways, I did ask the teacher about the paper we need and that we're also reading Eli Weasel chapter 5 and another worksheet that we're also going ahead since I was also absent that day. One of the girls during the class actually thought I was there yesterday. Well, 2 days ago. But it was probably one of the quietest days, apparently, is what I heard during. And next thing we did is that we read chapter 5, and I learned how people in the infirmary would apparently be executed because the Soviet army was already coming. But the Gestapo and the SS were too worried about getting captured instead of executing the people in the infirmary. Although it did happen, I believe, in other camps then. And next thing is that I got surprised when the text said all the way at the end of the chapter is that let them know that here lived men and not pigs, which was a Weasel page 84 in the original edition. I found it surprising because the camps are definitely death camps. And the fact that that quote was said there kind of surprised me at that point. Anyways, I finished up another question assignment, but I got confused with number 3 because it asked for two specific words that were not exactly quoted in the book. And it was My Inheritance on Weasel page 75. It wasn't quoted, so I was looking for letters that were quoted, but since it wasn't quoted, it took me like a few minutes before I just asked someone for help. Next thing for math is that no more protection here from friends. I got moved seats, and I think this entire class already moved seats. It just sucks again. That's a little thing what I call the invisible social barrier. That means when you don't talk to someone within your immediate vicinity, or if you just moved somewhere new, it automatically becomes awkward as you still have to introduce yourself. You still have to talk to others, so you may never end up talking at all to remove that awkwardness and just like become an invisible social barrier. If you never break the icebreaker, then obviously there'd be something invisible realities. Anyways, my grade was 90%, but the teacher was complaining that apparently you only need 60% to pass toward the people in the class who are failing, and somehow some people only have like 10 to 15% of a score. And the teacher went on a rant about it. She also later on, she also pronounces beads as beats with a T sound at the end. So a student wasn't able to understand her, but within context, when it was given, there was this new beads thing that's going around in the school within juniors. Gets it traded around, and the winner gets something cool. For the main stuff, yes, our group did get moved to new seats. I assume because of new students or a random switch up. Samuel put his head down during this lesson, but he had to wake up as he was ordered by the teacher. And the average quiz score for this was about 62%, even though the teacher only recommends us to pass 60% because the class is already feeling even lower. And since the class has such a low score. Next thing that we do is that we're solving for missing sides in a triangle review. Very simple to do. And she also complained about proportions. Apparently, how the class keeps using proportions with a plus sign instead of an actual equal sign. And the teacher also made more complaints about on how the class is not going to make it in life. It's always the same thing. I also learned how you never multiply radicals. The whole number always stays outside of whatever number you're multiplying it by. And we also got a 4-page assignment to do yesterday, but only 2 pages that were assigned. Later on, the teacher said something about beads. As I said, she gave it up toward another student. And that student said, like, hey, miss, since you don't have juniors in 6th period, why don't I use that bead and then I'll get 5 extra points on the AP exam? And what the teacher said is that he used the beads as a promise to get 5 points on the AP exam. And this was what apparently she said, not that it actually happened in the class at that time, but before we actually went to the class. I'm not sure what period he's from. She gave up her beads for a student to get 5 points.